Should we be surprised at all that C. Bell is the second qualifier for the playoffs?
I think a little bit. Look, this race didn't really start that great for Christopher Bell. He only finished ninth in stage one, didn't even collect a single stage point in stage two, and I think it took him till around lap 220 before he even cracked into the top five. So the race day that they had was pretty incredible. But maybe when we get into next year, we could look at Christopher Bell and say, well, look, he's got a habit out of winning his way into the championship round.
And, of course, Bell, after all was said and done, said it was all about the car.
It was just incredible the difference a couple pitch stop adjustments will do to your car. And, I've always been one that says that the car is everything. The driver's job is to maximize the car. And if the car's fast, you do good. If the car's slow, you do bad. And I think today was the epitome of that.
And, of course, I won't lie. I would have thought, okay, the first Gibbs driver to qualify for Phoenix, I wasn't going to name Christopher Bell. He had to outrun Ryan Blaney, who looked pretty sporty yesterday.
He certainly did, yeah. There was a while there where I thought Ryan Blaney might win his way in. Then he had that little incident on pit road with Kyle Larson, which we could probably talk about later. But Christopher Bell had a great end of the race yesterday. And when you think about Christopher Bell, and I agree with Brad to a certain extent where he said, yesterday it looked for the first two stages like he was not going to be anywhere around towards the end of the race, but he has such a habit of winning in these like game 7 walk-off moments. Think about the Roval, think about Martinsville. I mean, he has done it before and he continues to do it. Obviously this wasn't necessarily a walk-off because he still have Martinsville next weekend, but just really clutch when he needs to be.
Ryan Blaney looked like he might have been cooked going into Homestead, but he comes out, he serves up a tasty dish with a runner-up spot.
It's no secret that we, haven't been as competitive as some of those guys throughout the year, but we've been putting together a really good last couple weeks, honestly the last month, and our group does a really good job, our whole organization, of always trying to get better and not getting down when we're maybe not as good as we want to be, and that's the people you want surrounding you, and they've worked their tails off to get better, and it's showing.
So what about it, Brad? Is Blaney going to get off the deck and somehow manage to be in the Final Four?
It's interesting because a lot of people have said, gosh, we really thought if Blaney could just make the championship round that he could actually win the championship. I mean, the fact is, he was the fastest car last year at Phoenix, hands down. And his teammate, Joey Logano, was the one running for the championship. So Blaney had to settle for second. But I'll tell you what they did yesterday really impressed a lot of people. I mean, I don't think any of us left Las Vegas Motor Speedway thinking that, hey, if Ryan Blaney makes it to Phoenix, can he make it to Phoenix, that was going to be a pretty tall order. But, boy, they turned it around in a big, big way yesterday. That was pretty cool to see.
Of course, yesterday it was Homestead-Miami Speedway, the Forever 400. Nice little hat tip there to Kevin Harvick, who has 2 more Cup Series races left in his storied career. Guys, I want to ask you about the choice of venue. Was watching the social medias yesterday, and so many people heaping abundant praise on Homestead-Miami. Do we have the championship race at the wrong track, Alexis?
Gosh, I don't know. That's such a hard question to answer because there's so many variables. I mean, obviously you want somewhere that has fantastic racing. And a lot of times Homestead delivers that. But you also have a venue in Phoenix who, really puts the fan first. I mean, they have so many amenities there and they spent so much capital there to get that racetrack ready to host the championship race. And they do a really good job at it. I personally wish, and I know I've said this on the show before, that we would move the championship race around. I feel like, other major league sports don't always have their championship decided at the same place every year. So why can't, that be true for NASCAR? I hope that one day we can get to that point. But right now, I think, it's good in Phoenix.
Brad, I know it's an old story. We chew on this about this time every year. Homestead versus Phoenix versus someplace else.
Well, first, I wholeheartedly agree with Alexis. When they announced this format that we're going to have a championship event, I was really surprised that they also didn't say that the championship event will move from year to year to year. If it did, we wouldn't be talking about this. Yeah, I think Homestead is a great venue to host a championship race. I also think Las Vegas would be a fantastic venue and a great destination to host a championship race. I think you could do it at Texas. I think there are probably 5 or 6 tracks where you could reasonably host a championship race that are in destination destination cities and make it a great thing. But I will say, yeah, we watched a great Homestead race yesterday. There's no question about that. We also watched a Homestead race, which was the middle race in the round of 8. Homestead as a championship race is a little bit different. Let's not forget that, because once we get down to those final 4 drivers, everyone sort of gives them a pretty wide berth and lets those guys go out there and race. But there's no question that by the time we get to Phoenix here, not this weekend, but next weekend, we're probably going to compare it directly to Homestead, even though it's not exactly a direct comparison, and say, yeah, the championship should be at Homestead. If it was only given a choice between the two, Homestead hands down.
Brad, you may have hit on something there, and I've thought this for a while, Alexis, that when you get to that finale, everybody gets out of the way. There's really not 36 drivers. There's 4, and you let them slug it out. That's why halfway through the race at Phoenix, the front 4 will be the front 4.
Well, it's funny because I wanted to do a little brushing up on what happened at Phoenix before the show today, so I watched a recap of last year's race, and Brad mentioned it before. You know, Ryan Blaney had probably the fastest car last year, but because his teammate was racing for the championship, you know, who knows what actually transpired there as far as maybe giving position or not giving position. But, you know, Joey Logano is the one that ended up winning the race, and he was running in the championship. So I think they are raced differently. There's no doubt about that. And it does make a difference in the product that we see, you know, on the racetrack.
Big day for Toyota yesterday, Brad. 4 out of the top 7 finishers were Toyotas. Is there anything to be made of that?
I think just like last year with the next-gen race car, Toyota has been very, very good at intermediate tracks, and they've shown a lot of speed. And it's not just been Sunday speed; it's also been Saturday speed. I mean, you go look at the front row yesterday, and you can see that as well with Martin Truex Jr. and with Bubba Wallace. So I think we're at a track where they are excelling right now with this particular next-gen race car. And not to say the same won't happen at Martinsville Speedway, but I don't know that history of the next-gen car necessarily shows the same, even though Christopher Bell won Martinsville last year.